I came home from work with road salt crusted up my boots and my shoulders screaming from hauling lumber all day. I smelled like sawdust and sweat. All I wanted was to microwave leftovers and fall asleep with the TV on. Instead, I walked in and saw Tessa sitting on the bar stool at the kitchen island, full makeup, wine glass in hand like she'd just closed $1 million deal. She didn't even look up, just swirled the glass, smirking. That stupid little smile she always gave me when she knew something I didn't. "Rough day?" she asked. I dropped my backpack by the door and didn't answer. "My name's Connor. I'm 34. I live or lived in Castle Pines, Colorado. Worked construction mostly. Temp gigs, side jobs, paid my half. Tessa's dad hated that I wasn't some finance guy or a junior exec. She made sure I heard about it. You know," she said, still not looking at me, "I told my dad you'd never have the guts to leave." I just stared at her. She wore this silk blouse I didn't recognize. Probably new, probably not cheap. She took a slow sip of wine and leaned back on the stool. "You're not built for independence, Connor. You don't hustle. You don't even try. I mean, look at you. Same boots, same job, same paycheck for the last 3 years. Quick note, before we start, how's your day going, and where are you joining from?" I could feel the heat rising in my neck. This wasn't a fight. It was a show, one she'd been rehearsing for weeks, maybe months. "I pay the bills," I said. "I keep this house running." "You pay half," she shot back, "and only because I ask. If I stopped reminding you, you'd forget rent exists." That was the moment. She stood, walked to the sink, dumped the wine, and turned around. Arms folded, eyes cold. "Go ahead," she said. "Walk out. You wouldn't last a week without me." I laughed. Not a big dramatic laugh, just one sharp, stupid breath. Then I pulled the house key off my ring, dropped it on the granite counter, the country club pass. Each one hit the stone like a gunshot. "You're right," I said. "Let's find out." I grabbed my backpack, walked out. No suitcase, no speech. 3 hours later, I was sitting at a Motel 6 off I-25, watching the security feed from the backdoor cam. The one she never knew I installed. I didn't sleep that night. Just lay there on the scratchy motel sheets, staring at the ceiling with one eye on the camera feed. She poured another glass of wine, paced the kitchen, tried calling me twice. I let it ring out. At 8 the next morning, I checked out under the name Archer, my old last name before my mom got remarried, and checked into a cheaper spot 2 exits down. Used a burner debit tied to a freelance LLC I'd set up back in 2019. Tessa never knew about it. Hell, I barely remembered it myself until I got desperate one night and dug through an old email folder labeled "just in case." By the second morning, the bank started calling. Not my personal account, her father's business bank, the one tied to the consulting work she did under his firm. The one she forgot had me listed as an operational signer. I moved out 32 grand in 3 separate hits, all under 10.5, just below the reporting threshold. Her dad's office called me 4 times in 6 hours. First it was a receptionist, then his secretary, then a blocked number, then the firm's managing partner, left voicemails, all of them polite, trying not to sound rattled. I ignored everyone. Her brother texted once. "What did you do?" I left him on red. For the next 3 days I lived out of a public library off county line. The staff didn't bother me. I showered at the gym nearby, paid in cash, ate protein bars, gas station sandwiches, had my laptop open from sunup to close. I spent hours going through files. Old backups, half-deleted folders, cloud drives she thought were wiped. Screenshots, PDFs, exported texts, everything. I copied it all to a new encrypted drive and labeled it Truth. The first crack in the wall came from a voice memo. A month before all this, I'd borrowed her iPad to print a W-2, logged into my iCloud, forgot to log out. That Monday, while I was transferring files, a notification popped up. New voice memo. Uploaded it, auto-synced to my account. I clicked it. Tessa's voice. Bright, tipsy, laughing. I mean, seriously, if I asked Connor to sign over his liver, he'd ask which side. A second voice, her sister. "Stop! You're evil." I'm realistic. He's just useful enough to keep around till I'm on my feet. And then I can upgrade. I sat there, frozen, just hearing it. Hearing her say it so casual, like I wasn't even a person, just a lever she pulled when she needed money or cover or sympathy. That was the switch. That was the moment I realized I'd never been her partner. I'd been a prop, a placeholder, a fool who confused comfort with love. I didn't cry, didn't scream, just closed the laptop and stared at the wall. When I opened it again, I started making folders. One for financials, one for recordings, one labeled leverage. By the end of the week, I had everything backed up. Emails between her and her dad about restructuring our joint accounts. A hidden LLC with my name forged on a registration doc. Copies of her sending money to her sister under therapy expenses that were actually boutique shopping sprees. She thought she had control. She thought I was just a dumb tradesman who'd fall apart without her. But I'd been watching. Quietly, carefully, long enough to know how to disappear without leaving a single breadcrumb. I got a burner phone, ditched my old number, transferred passwords, locked down my social, and cleared every trace of myself from our shared systems. By the time she realized I'd gone dark, I wasn't just gone, I was untouchable. By Saturday, I was tired of watching. It was time to strike. I drove to my old storage unit, half an hour outside the city. Tiny metal box, barely big enough to park a lawnmower. Inside was one duffel bag, 2 broken down bookcases, and a dented filing cabinet I hadn't opened since we moved in together. The prenup was in there. Her dad's firm had written the whole thing up before the wedding. I remembered sitting in his glass-walled office while he explained the standard protections in that calm, fake-friendly voice of his. I laid the pages out on the hood of my truck and read them slow, line by line. Halfway through, I found it. One sentence, buried deep in the section labeled Separation and Dissolution. In the event the wife initiates divorce proceedings after a confirmed physical separation of 30 days or more, she forfeits all claim to premarital assets and holdings contributed by her family. That was leverage, not a guarantee, but enough to make her side panic if I move first. I filed first, quietly, online, used Lucas's address in Boulder for everything. He owed me anyway, and he knew how to keep his mouth shut. No lawyer, no drama, just the paperwork, filed and time-stamped before she even knew I was serious. Then I made one more call, Mindy. She used to work as Tessa's dad's office assistant, retired now. I hadn't talked to her in months, but last Christmas we ended up at the same ugly sweater party, drank too much wine, ended up sitting on the back patio trading stories. At one point, she looked at me and said, "That man doesn't run a family, he runs a machine, and you're one of the parts." I didn't forget that. I texted her a simple question. "Still got your old work files?" She called me the next day. "I've got boxes," she said. "Come get 'em." She lived in a condo just outside Littleton, gated, quiet, the kind of place no one asks questions. When I got there, she didn't say much, just opened her garage and pointed to 3 plastic totes marked Archive. The files were pristine, labeled, dated, cross-referenced. Tessa's name was all over them, so was mine. One email from her to her dad said, "Once I push the formal separation, we can start liquidating into the alternate account. He'll be too busy scrambling to notice." Another one listed a wire transfer of $84,000 into a dummy LLC under her cousin's name, timed exactly 1 week before she told me I was dead weight. The cherry on top? Her dad's digital signature on the wire. They thought they were being slick, moving funds before they filed, making it look clean on paper. What they didn't count on was me filing first and having the receipts. 3 days after I filed, she texted, "Dinner? Just you and me. Let's talk like adults before this turns ugly." Right? Like adults. That was rich, coming from someone who plotted a financial ambush behind closed doors. I knew it was a setup before I even stepped out the door, but I said yes anyway. The restaurant was in Cherry Creek. White tablecloths, valet only, menu with no prices. A place I'd never pick. The kind of place her dad used for power lunches and press photos. Before I left the motel, I checked the reservation list. Had to call in a favor, but it was worth it. Sure enough, 4 seats, not 2. Tessa, her father, his business partner, and her attorney. I showed up 5 minutes late on purpose. Wore the one decent suit I owned, hadn't seen daylight in months. Brushed off the dust, tightened the knot on my tie in the parking garage, and walked in like I belonged there. She stood when I approached, that fake smile already plastered across her face. "Connor," she said, "glad you came." I didn't shake her hand, didn't hug her, just sat down. Her dad leaned in almost immediately. "Let's be practical," he said. "You're not entitled to anything we built. You signed that prenup. You agreed." I looked him in the eye and didn't blink. "You're right," I said. Then I reached into my jacket and pulled out a thumb drive, set it on the table. "You should hear what your daughter thinks of your empire." Her attorney narrowed her eyes. Tessa shifted in her seat. The partner, bald guy in a navy suit, looked like he already knew something was off. They plugged it into the lawyer's laptop right there at the table, volume up. The audio kicked in. Tessa's voice, loud and clear. "Connor's basically the safest bet. He's broke enough to control and loyal enough to not leave unless I give him permission." Silence. I watched the blood drain from her father's face like someone pulled a plug in a sink. The partner turned toward her, blinking fast. Her attorney tried to pause the clip. I reached over and clicked it back on. "He doesn't think for himself. He's just useful enough to keep until I'm stable. Then I'll figure something better out." Tessa stood up. "That was taken out of context." I stood too. "You all assumed I was weak. That was your mistake." Her dad opened his mouth, probably to bark some threat. I didn't give him the chance. I turned and walked. Calm, steady, not a word. Behind me, voices started rising. "Do you know what this means? Why the hell would you say that with a mic on? Do we have exposure on the LLCs?" I kept walking, through the dining room, past couples with wine glasses half raised, pretending not to stare. Outside, the valet reached for my ticket. I waved him off. "I'm good." Got into my truck, loosened the tie, and sat there for a second with the window down. They thought I was the dumb one, the broke one, the one with no options. They didn't realize until that night I'd been collecting every piece of the puzzle they dropped behind them, and I'd just flipped the whole damn table over. By the next morning, the fallout had already started. Her dad's office went dark online. Website under maintenance, company socials locked down, damage control mode. I knew that rhythm. I'd seen it before in contractors who got caught cutting corners. That's when I called Randall Briggs, small-town attorney based out of Pueblo. No billboards, no social media ads. Just a name carved on an old wooden door downtown. Lucas had used him once for a land dispute and said, "He's quiet, but lethal." Randall answered on the third ring. His voice sounded half asleep but steady. "I heard your name," he said. "What do you need?" I told him everything. The prenup clause, the LLCs, the recordings, the emails with signatures. He didn't interrupt once, just took notes and asked one question at the end. "You want revenge or closure?" "Peace," I said. He gave a short laugh. "Good. Revenge costs more." He sent one letter. One. It was simple. 4 pages, typed clean. Outlined the fraudulent wire transfers, the undeclared LLCs, and the possibility of SEC involvement if I decided to forward those documents to the proper channels. Her father folded within 48 hours. Didn't even bother calling me. Just had his lawyer send a settlement draft. Randall looked at me over his reading glasses when it came through. "You realize you could push for more, right?" "I don't need more," I said. "I just need out." We signed that Friday. I walked away with 42% of our liquid assets, enough to breathe again, and the copyrights to an app I'd designed back when I still thought she cared about what I built. She'd called it cute once, said it'd never go anywhere. She didn't even remember I'd written the code, but it was mine now, officially. I used my cut to buy a small ranch-style house about 80 miles south of Denver. Faded siding, creaky floors, one-car garage. Roof needed work. Kitchen was ancient, but it was quiet, mine. No more cameras, no more reminders of her taste in decor or her father's shadow in every decision. I spent that first night there, sitting on an old folding chair in the living room, eating takeout straight from the box. Bare walls, no furniture, just silence and air that finally felt clean. Next morning, I canceled every social account, changed my number, burned every digital bridge she could use to track me. Randall texted me later, "Congrats, you're officially free." Free. Funny word. It didn't feel light. It felt heavy, like dragging a chain off after years of wearing it. Peace cost me almost everything, but staying would have cost me more. After a couple of weeks in the house, I needed movement, not to impress anyone, not for revenge, just to remember I had a body that could still do something besides survive. So I joined this beat-up gym 15 minutes outside town. Nothing fancy, rusted dumbbells, mismatched machines. the kind of place that still had a chalkboard for class schedules. It felt honest. Second week in, I was doing pull-ups when I saw her. Diana, Tessa's old personal trainer, blonde, lean, always used to show up in Lululemon like she ran the world. But now she looked different, tired. She walked up slow, holding her water bottle against her ribs. That's when I saw the bruise, right under her left eye, faint yellow and purple like old fruit. She gave me a half smile. "Didn't expect to see you out here?" I nodded. "Didn't expect to be here." She looked around, then sat on the bench across from me. "I heard you disappeared," she said. "Guess you didn't go far." I shrugged. "Just far enough." Then she leaned in, voice lower. "You're not the only one he tried to break." I froze. "You talking about Tessa's brother," she said. "Same charm, same power games, love bombs, then guilt, then threats." She touched the side of her face. "This was from when I told him I was done." I sat beside her. My whole chest tightened. "How long?" I asked. 6 months. "He said I was special, said he'd rescue me from my low-rent clients. Then he started monitoring my schedule, controlling who I could train, where I could go. Sounded familiar, too familiar." I pulled out a card from my wallet. Randall Briggs. "Start recording everything," I said. "Keep screenshots, keep receipts. If he's anything like the rest of that family, he'll bury himself if you let him talk long enough." She stared at the card for a second, like it was a life raft, then nodded. That night, I sat down at my desk, opened a blank spreadsheet, and titled it Tessa & Co. Fallout. I started logging names, dates, events, emails, people they used, people they lied to, people like me, like Diana. I wasn't the first, and I sure as hell wouldn't be the last. I kept logging names. Every week or so, another one popped up. A hairstylist who lost her lease after co-signing with Tessa's cousin. A college friend who fronted 10 grand for a startup that vanished. Months passed, quiet ones, peaceful mostly. I did contract work from my kitchen table. Small coding jobs, back-end fixes, troubleshooting for startups too. Broke to hire full-time. I kept to myself. No dates, no drama, no distractions. Until Mindy called, no small talk, no greeting. "He's doing it again," she said. My stomach tightened. "A new guy, younger, from Texas, same playbook." I didn't even have to ask who. She sent me a shared drive link right after the call. Inside was a folder labeled Outreach Doc, corporate crap, strategy notes, brand development blurbs. But his name was listed under Investor Liaison. Jackson Cole, 28. I found his email on the second page. I didn't hesitate. No message, no preamble. I dropped the folder on him. Zip file, password protected, labeled, "Read this if you value your sanity." Inside were all the files, the voice memos, screenshots, PDFs, wire transfers, timelines. Even Diana's name was redacted into the log. 3 days later, I got a call, Texas number. I picked up. "Is this Connor?" "Yeah, this is Jackson Cole. You sent me something." I didn't say anything, just waited. "I believed her," he said. "All of it. I thought I was helping her grow something. Thought we were building a future." I closed my eyes for a second. Same damn pattern. "So did I said. "But you still got time." He exhaled hard, like he'd been holding his breath for weeks. "She said her ex was unstable, that you were bitter and jealous, said you stole from her." "She tell you I coded the app she's pitching to investors?" Silence. "No," he said quietly. I forwarded him Randall Briggs' number without another word. Tessa's whole game worked because nobody ever compared notes. She kept her lies separated like bank accounts, clean on the surface, rotten underneath. But now there were files, folders, names, and people like Jackson were finally listening. The invite came through my spam folder. Tech conference in Denver, small local panel, nothing major. I almost deleted it, but Randall called the same day. "Show face," he said. "Let him see you survived. Let him see you built something." So I went. Jeans, boots, clean jacket, no tie, no script. I parked 2 blocks away and walked in carrying nothing but my phone and a hotel notepad I'd scribbled bullet points on. Place was decent. Booths, free coffee, panels full of 20-somethings selling solutions. Then I saw her, Tessa. She was near the back of the room, standing close to a guy in a tailored blazer and white sneakers. He couldn't have been more than 27. Same look I had when she pulled me in. Same hopeful eyes. She turned, saw me, froze. Her mouth opened slightly like she forgot how to breathe. I gave her a polite nod. No anger, no grin, just quiet acknowledgement. The guy looked between us, confused, asked something. She didn't answer. 15 minutes later, I was on stage. Moderator asked the basics. Startup journey, tech background. At one point he said, "Your app went global in under a year. Impressive for someone who's been through what you've been through." The crowd laughed lightly. I smiled. "Yeah," I said. "Rock Bottom's a great launch pad." Then came Q&A. A guy from the front row stood and asked, "What's one thing you'd tell your younger self?" I paused, looked out over the crowd. My eyes landed right on her. Tessa, standing in the back now, still watching. I held the mic steady. "You're not stupid for loving someone," I said, "but you're a damn fool if you ignore the signs when they stop loving you back." The room went dead quiet. Then someone clapped. Then more. I handed the mic off, walked down the steps, and headed straight for the exit. Didn't stop to mingle. Didn't look back. I got in my truck, threw the notepad in the passenger seat, and pulled onto the highway. The sky was gray, cold wind outside. But inside, it was still. No glass towers, no country club dinners, no one telling me how to live. Just the road, my hands on the wheel, freedom, paid in full, earned in silence, and built to last. Was Connor right to send everything to the new guy, or should he have walked away for good? Drop your take in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe.